Welcome back to Monday Morning Stretching. For our final episode, we're going to cover 8 stretches for the low body that are just going to help us maintain adequate mobility for all of our fundamental functional movement patterns. For all the stretches we're going to cover today, they can be done for 2 to 3 sets with 30-second hold time per side. The first stretch we'll cover today is going to be a quadricep stretch. Now, it's a pretty basic stretch. I like to set up beside a wall so I can use it for support. We're going to grasp onto one of the ankles, extending the hip, pulling the heel towards the bum until we produce a good stretch in through the quad. Now, the main thing to look out for with this stretch is allowing the back to arch. We want to make sure we keep the core strong and the hips level so we're able to produce that stretch and don't have any excessive curvature through the low back. The second stretch we're going to cover today is a stretch for the upper portion of the calf or the gastrocnemius. To get in position for this stretch, we're going to set up facing the wall in a split stance. From there, all I'm going to do is rest my hands against the wall and start to shift my weight forward while keeping the back knee straight and the heel on the ground until I produce a stretch in the upper portion of the calf. Our third stretch today is a stretch for the soleus, a calf muscle that's a little bit lower and deeper than the gastrocnemius. Now, we're going to set up extremely similar to how we did for the last stretch. The main difference being, as we descend into this, we're going to allow that back knee to bend. So we can think we're driving the back knee to the ground while keeping that trail heel on the ground until we produce a stretch a little bit lower in the calf. So it'll feel almost like it's more down towards the ankle or in that Achilles region. The next stretch we're going to cover for today is a stretch for the hip flexor. Now, for this stretch, we're going to set up in a half kneeling position and we're going to get as tall as we possibly can while maintaining nice level hips. From there, what we're going to do is we're going to start to drive the hips forward while keeping that hip position level to extend the hip and produce a stretch in the upper portion of the thigh. Now, the stretch may feel somewhat similar to the quad stretch. The main difference is the tension should be quite a bit higher up into the hip, not down in through the main portion of the thigh. The fifth stretch that we're going to cover today is an active stretch for the hamstrings. So to get set up for this stretch, we're going to get onto our back, we're going to bring one leg up and interlock our fingers in behind the thigh. From there, we're going to pull the toes up towards the shin and extend the knee actively, using the quad to fight for a good amount of stretch in the hamstrings along the back of the thigh. Our next stretch is a supine rotation stretch. Now, this stretch may hit a few different areas. I primarily find we'll get quite a bit of tension in through the glutes, but we can also produce some tension down the IT band, as well as through some of the rotational musculature of the core. So for this stretch, we're once again setting up on our back. We're going to have one hand straight out to the side, and we'll bring that side's leg up so that we're able to hook our hand in and around the thigh. From this position, I'm going to rotate by turning through the torso, flicking the hips, bringing the knee as close to the ground as I possibly can while keeping the opposite shoulder glued tight to the ground. Our seventh stretch for today is a figure 4 glute stretch. However, this will also produce quite a bit of tension in through the piriformis. For this stretch, we're going to set up on our back in a crook laying position. We'll start by bringing one leg up so that we cross the leg over, resting the ankle on top of the thigh. From that position, I'm going to reach both my hands down, grasping underneath the thigh, and I'm going to come into the stretch by pulling this thigh up towards the chest while using the elbow to pry bar the opposite leg down. This should produce quite a bit of tension in through the glute region. The last stretch that we'll cover for today and for the series is going to be a seated groin stretch. For this stretch, what we're going to do is we're going to rest the soles of the feet together. We're going to grab the hands onto the ankles, and we'll start by pulling the ankles as far in towards the groin as possible. From this position, I'm going to lean forward and use my elbows to press the knees down to the ground until I produce a good amount of tension in through the musculature of the groin. Thanks for joining us for our last episode of Monday Morning Stretching. Hopefully you found all of the stretches and information that we've covered throughout the series useful. Now, keep in mind, everyone does have individual requirements and their own postural issues that we need to address. So if you're not sure about any of these stretches or you're not sure if this routine is right for you, get in, see a kinesiologist, see a registered healthcare professional, and let's make sure that that program is individualized to suit your needs. I'm Daryl with Countless Precision Kinetics. Thanks for joining us for the duration of the series, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.